We got a good chance of rain today, so it's seed planting time here at Hackberry Farms. And these fields we're planting aren't going to be for any kind of commercial crop. We're actually just planting a mix of seeds so we can use for a wildlife feed later on when it matures. And so we went to our local feed store and just bought a plain sack of milo off the shelf, a plain sack of just deer corn off the shelf, as well as some black oil sunflower seeds like you would put in a bird feeder. And so we're going to make a mixture of all three of those, and then we're going to plant it in these fields, and hopefully we get a good rain on it today and tomorrow, and it'll start off the germination. We'll get a good stand of it later on this fall. Now, the seeding method we're using, because we're trying to work quick, is actually called the broadcast method. And what the broadcast method means is just that we're going to broadcast the seed, or we're going to spread the seed out over the top of the ground, and then we're going to go back with a harrow and then drag over the top of the seed and cover it with dirt, just a thin layer of dirt, and then that way we get good seed to soil contact. Now, the alternate way you could plant this would be use a seed drill. And we've got a seed drill, but it takes a little bit longer to set up. You got to get a little bit better soil preparation. Now, the advantage of using a seed drill though is you use less seed overall. We're going to really dump a lot of seed on this because we're going to have a pretty low germination rate. But by putting a lot of seed on this, we'll be able to ensure a pretty good stand out here as the season goes along. Now, the way we did this is we came out and we plowed it yesterday, and then once we plowed it, we drug it with the harrow first to kind of break up any big clods. We've got pretty tight ground here. It has a lot of clay in it, and so we had to break up the dirt clods. And then once we got our seed bed prepped, again, we plowed it and then drag over it again. We could have plowed it a lot, but it took some of the moisture out of the ground. So instead, we opted to plow over it once, and then we came back and drug over it to really get that good fine dirt and good even seed bed. And so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to drive over it with our tractor, and we're going to broadcast this seed out. And then the third step we're going to do is, once we broadcast the seed, is again drag it again with the harrow to cover up the seed we planted. We won't get 100% seed coverage, but it'll be pretty good enough to get a good stand again, because when you broadcast, you've got to use a lot higher seed rate. We're actually on about 3 acres of land today. We're going to put about 250 pounds of seed on 3 acres, which is a lot, but we're going to try to mimic Mother Nature, because when Mother Nature grows a plant, it's just going to drop a lot of seeds right on top of the ground. Some seeds will germinate, some won't, and so we're going to mimic the same thing there. Again, broadcasting is a pretty simple thing to do. It takes minimal amount of equipment. We've got a broadcast seeder that we got secondhand that was on the back of our tractor. Runs off PTO. We'll sling the seed about 30 feet out, so you can cover a lot of ground pretty quick and spread out a lot of seed in a really short amount of time. And that's our plan today, because again, we've already got one brief shower today. More's coming. We're working against the clock, so by using this broadcast method, again, you're going to put out a little more seed, but you can cover ground really quick. And because we're not using this crop for any kind of economic importance, we're just doing plantings for wildlife. It's okay if we spill a little bit of seed on the ground and the birds eat it beforehand, but as long as we get a good stand, and later this fall we'll have a really nice stand of plants out here that'll benefit the birds into the winter. That's really all we're aiming for. So it's been about a week and a couple of days since we planted, and during that time we got a couple of good rains. I think almost 2 inches in all, and they were really slow rains, so it really helped settle the dirt, helped kind of break up some of these clods, and really improve the condition of this topsoil out here, just from a structure standpoint. But you can look around this field and see that we've got a good germination rate. You know, when you plant broadcast style, you're just throwing the seeds out in random. They're just landing wherever they're going to land, and there's no rhyme or reason where they're planted. Now, that's kind of in opposition to more of a row crop style. You know, in traditional agriculture, and where crops are going to be harvested, they're typically, a lot of them are planted in rows. And the reason for that is because, like, when you're growing cotton or milo or corn, you've got equipment that has to get up and down those rows to either manage the soil while the crop is growing, or even harvest in the end. But with this broadcast style, we're not going to harvest this crop for any reason. We're actually going to use it for wildlife feed as the seeds mature and they fall to the ground. And then when the season's over, we're going to till this back into the ground and help improve our soil a little bit by adding some more organic material to it. But for the reason we're using this piece of property for, this is going to be great. I mean, again, we're going to provide a lot of food for wildlife. Our ability to come out here and react quick to the weather conditions and spread the seed out really fast and get a good stand of it is really going to pay dividends in the end, especially in the fall when the wildlife is utilizing this part of the property more than they ever have before.